Now, I sat down and wrote about a 7-page speech, single line, and I went to practice it over and over again. I didn't like the way that I sounded like I was reading it. I'm not a reader. I'm not good at that. Like I told Gene when we first met, I'm more of a conversationalist. So what I've done is I have put together a very, very simple PowerPoint. Now this is notes for myself. So and you can share them. I didn't like the idea of having my face down on a piece of paper while everything was happening up in front of me. This way I can at least look your direction while I'm speaking to you. Okay, tomorrow, after the pandemic, purely up to us. We can treat it any way that we want to. This thing isn't going to be over for another 4, 5, 6 months. If we get to really get back to any kind of normal as far as the activity goes, it won't be at least until fall. So that gives us time to do things between now and then. But why is this not working for me now? Okay, I'll do it the hard way. There, here we go. The car is running out of gas, has a flat tire, the engine knocking, it's coughing and overheating, and I think the brakes stopped working. But that's okay. I think I can still beat that train to the end of the crossing. Does that sound stupid? It is stupid. Because the facts say that either the brakes are stopped working and you're going to get hit by a train, or you're not going to make it there, whatever. It just doesn't mean they're facts. They're facts that we have to live with. Now, back when I used to put together some flyers for my square dance groups, I always made sure that I had the who, what, when, and where. And I'm going to try to get all those put into this presentation as shortly as possible. But I want to add why. Now, why is going to take in who the heck are we as well. How do we begin? What are we going to do in the future? We have an activity that, if you'll be honest with yourself, was in a terrible state of decline. Maybe not in specific areas, but overall. And it has been for decades. Is the pandemic creating an opportunity? Yeah, sure. Anytime you have a tragedy of any kind, somebody's going to benefit from it, even if it's just a funeral home. Okay, what are we? Or better yet, what are we trying to save? Well, we're trying to save an activity that was going downhill badly. Where did we come from? Short, brief history. And all of this is, in my mind, or my opinions, or what I've seen as I was in over 50 years of calling. Pappy Shaw, Lloyd Shaw, back 1939-ish, decided to start up square dancing from material that he'd collected through the years at his school, high school. He was an English high school teacher, and he taught his kids how to square dance to the old traditional routines. Then he took them out on the road, going cross country around the United States, putting on shows. That was from 1939 to 1951. During that time, summertime when the school was out, he taught traditional square dancing and taught callers how to do it. And he continued that until 1958 when he passed away. Okay, so that's pretty much what started the square dancing as we know it anyway. It was still the old stuff that he was using. It was still all written out particular way to particular music. through part of that time, the early times at least, they had 78 RPM recordings of callers doing it, but he was training callers so they could do it. World War II comes along. All right. Not much to be happy about during that time. Very little to be happy about. They were all busy building tanks and battleships and fighter airplanes or ammunition or whatever. The war ends. The war ends. People are looking for something to do, something fun. Get them out of the house. Get some friends. Not build any more planes. Bob Osgood, the publisher and creator of Sets in Order magazine, started the magazine in 1948. He was involved in the square dancing and in contra dancing and wanted to have some place that he could present the material pretty much as Lloyd Shaw had collected it, those type of dances, named dances. And so he went to putting out this magazine. Well, to put out a magazine gets kind of expensive. So he took on advertisers in it. It grew into something quite nice. When the Sets in Order started becoming popular in itself, they decided to come up with the 50 basic calling list so that callers would have something they could all be doing the same way. He put out teaching booklets that they could pass out to the class so everybody know how to do the movements, right? And a lot of you remember all of this stuff. Well, what happened at that time was really what turned things towards what we have these days. Because when those booklets went out and they had an established list of material to call, they could teach those particular movements to their group. And rather than having a group meeting where they got together and taught a particular dance, and then the caller called that particular dance and the dancers danced it, but they had to do that every time. But when they got those 50 basics, that allowed them to start coming up with new figures. And for those of you that have been around for a long time, you'll remember the time that when you got your sets in order, it was full of figures that callers all over the country had written and sent into Bob Osgood, and he printed them, sent them out. Worked pretty good. Everybody was dancing. The activity was growing like crazy because it was something people could go out to that was inexpensive. It was family oriented, no cussing, no smoking, no drinking. It was perfect. It was perfect. Okay. Wasn't long. The 50 basics wasn't enough. We had the extended 25 basics. Well, the classes, which were very simple, took 10, 15 lessons at most, they had to grow.